Let's take price completely out of the equation. Like, not trying to be on a budget, and just have the serious conversation of the best, like just top dog, YouTube specific dominating camera setup in 2021. I can already feel the Canon and Panasonic hate comments coming in. What am I getting myself into? Okay, I know this one's gonna cause some controversy today. I wanna point out right off the rip that I am not brand loyal. I don't work with Sony. They do not send me stuff. I've invested into Sony, okay? So I don't want people to think that I just like Sony versus Canon. I like this brand versus that brand. In fact, I actually started off on Nikon, really big fan of Nikon, love their colors, but they just fell behind in the tools that were offered to me as a creator compared to other cameras. I know we're gonna have a lot of people today comparing this camera to some Canon options. And I wanna say that I respect Canon. I got a lot of homies that shoot on them. I myself, throughout the years, have obviously thought about switching to Canon. Sony came out with this A7S III, which solidified my reason to stick with Sony, but I'm not oblivious to the other quality options out there like Canon, Panasonic, Fuji. Just because I'm not mentioning these other devices today doesn't mean that I'm not like, I don't respect them. I don't own these cameras. So there's no point for me to go in depth into like the comparison between the two. If you are like a fanboy and you're more into Canon over Sony and it's like a brand thing to you, highly suggest checking out my boy down below, Jayhawk. He's been a Canon user for years, creates lots of videos around those cameras, so you would probably find a lot of information from him. First and foremost, for transparency, this is not even an A7S III. This is actually a Sony a7R III. I'm recording on the Sony a7S III, and I don't know, I just like sometimes when I'm talking about a product, I like to have like a physical feel while I explain it, even though this is not the product that we're talking about. Very, very weird, us creators are. Anyways, 2021, why the Sony a7S III? In my opinion, in my experience, that's the key thing. At the end of the day, you're clicking on my video to check out how I create content, but why I think the a7S III is the most dominant powerhouse YouTube specific camera. Oh my God, I'm already predicting. What about the photography, Biggie? We're talking YouTube here, not professional work, not like film production, not professional photography work. We're talking YouTube specific today. So when it comes to the photographing side of the Sony a7S III, are you able to get a photo for your social media, for your YouTube thumbnail? Yes. Even with 12 megapixels, will that photo still look good for your YouTube thumbnail or a social media post? Yes. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear anything more about the photography side of stuff in the comments down below. We're not going down that route. We're not talking about the best run and gun, like best all around camera setup, YouTube specific. So having a reliable camera that can create quality video. It allows creatives to have a wide variety of creative options, anywhere from shooting from default picture profiles to having more control over your shot with S-Log3, all the way to like a good middle ground with S-Cinetone being introduced in the a7S III. Having all the 4K options, because let's be honest, we're not really in the world of 6K, 8K yet. When talking YouTube, those resolutions are just unnecessary. I'm sure by now, if you're checking out this video, you already know the specs that this thing offers, but for the sake of like, you know, the tools that it does offer for a creator, figured I'd list them off for you. You got a 12 megapixel full frame CMOS sensor, which allows you to get Ultra HD 4K 120p video with 10-bit 422 internal recording. On top of that, you have a 16-bit raw output and HLG and S-Cinetone, along with other amazing picture profiles like S-Log2 and 3. S-Log3 is amazing in this thing as well. You have 759-point fast hybrid autofocus, a 3-inch dot vari-angle touchscreen that flips out, 5-axis steady shot image stabilization, extended ISO to 409,000, 10 FPS shooting with dual CF Express Type A / SD card slots. Downside with this camera and a lot of cameras that are coming out in 2020 is the SD cards that you need for these things, because you're writing so much data to the card at like high transfer speeds, they're a little bit more pricey. Again, this is not a budget setup. This is like a full send, like you want to invest money to get the job done on a daily basis. Also, an amazing thing that a lot of people aren't talking about with this thing is it's got an auto rotate feature. So if you're creating vertical form content for things like TikTok or YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels, turn your camera sideways, it will automatically record whatever you're looking at in a vertical landscape. Such a weird, like minor yet huge thing for content creators. Speaking of being a creator, I don't know if some of you guys are new here, but I actually do like daily uploads right now called the Daily Dose of E. Catchy, right? I create all of this content from this camera that we're talking about today and plan on testing some other options moving forward. If you find today's video interesting whatsoever, you should subscribe and turn on those notifications so that way you can see the videos as they come. And on top of that, see this camera actually get put into an active use and see how it's used day by day. You guys are gonna get annoyed of me saying when talking YouTube today because so many people who are really like brand loyal to other companies are going to come through and are going to want to stir up arguments. And when you're talking camera versus camera, all around for other things out there, high-end production, photography, videography work, yes, there are other options. But right now, at the time of making this video, March 11th, 2021, I don't think that there is any other camera that competes with the all-around run and gun features that a YouTube content creator would be able to benefit from using the Sony a7s III. You have the reliable recording. The big competitor obviously to this thing would be the Canon R5, maybe R6. And I would almost even argue in Canon's defense to say better all-around cameras due to the photography side of things. But over the last few months, I have a few homies that have the Canon R5 and have expressed their distaste towards some of the drawbacks on that camera when it comes down to being a content creator. Sometimes when we kind of wing these videos, we're recording for long periods of time. Like I think the longest I've sat down and recorded one of these videos from start to finish was like 40 minutes. It's like a YouTube streaming related video, I believe. Like the final video in itself was 25 minutes long. And on the backside, I had all the information there, but in the actual recording, it was obviously much longer. And during that whole transition of recording that, or many other things that I record on a daily basis, like I did not have to worry whatsoever about the camera having any flaws in doing its job, which is recording content for a content creator, getting my videos done on a daily basis at this point. I actually thank the a7s III for the ability to create so much content since I have gotten this thing. Now that Sony has moved into the flip out screen, that's given me the ability to secure the content that I know I need to get that sometimes some of these other Sony cameras did not work out for with me. Like trying to clean up shots that I couldn't see, maybe the white balance was off, or things went out of focus. I mean, the Sony autofocus detection is amazing to begin with. So Sony all around is a really reliable camera. I created content for years without having a flip out screen. Although it wasn't that big of a deal and I adapted as a content creator, since I have gotten the Sony a7s III, I've obviously utilized the ability to have that flip out screen, making sure my shots were set up correctly. Again, white balance, exposed properly. So as a creator, now I have access to being able to be on the go, creating content more commonly while being able to have the ability of seeing myself in it as well. On top of that, the ability to transition between environments with this thing, like having almost no boundaries from being in a studio like this and having a whole bunch of control over everything and making this shot look really good versus the new ISO features that they put in this thing to be able to be in low light situations and still produce a quality shot. Because as content creators, after a period of time, we start to develop a standard that we'd like to kind of have across the board for all of our content. I'm not saying I would buy the Sony a7s III so that way your low light shots when you're vlogging would be better. That's not like the point. But all I'm trying to say is as a creator, when you're talking just like, let's create content, go, 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 every single day, the tools that they packed into the Sony a7s III, I think is outmatched right now. It's reliable. I don't have to question what this thing is capable of doing. All I have to worry about is me being the creator and getting my shots captured. I do, however, think moving forward, we will have better options. Canon, for example, is obviously an amazing camera company. And I wanna be very clear that I'm not like brand loyal. So I am rooting for Canon to come out with a couple jabs or some competition against the Sony a7s III for content creators. I also feel like in itself, Sony's gonna come out with a competitor to this camera this year. Maybe the Sony a7 IV, given the ability for like a high production, reliable run and gun kind of smaller version of the a7s III, but with also kind of more higher end photography needs. But as of right now, your 4K options, your color profiles, the flip out screen, the dual ISO for low light situations, the active in-body image stabilization in this thing, the adaptation of the digital Sony microphone on top of it, this thing is a beast for YouTube creators right now. But again, I'm excited for the competition because I think competition amongst brands is healthy at this current point in time because it kind of pushes these brands to give us some of the features that we need without like having an insanely high price gap. And I know this camera setup is expensive. Again, this is not a budget setup. This is like, you know, if somebody has like 100,000 subscribers and they're looking for that camera that just like gets the job done, this is 100% what I'm gonna recommend to them. But I'm excited to see where we'll be thinking next year. All right, these are just my thoughts. Some of you have been asking for this because I did make that like best 4K camera setup for YouTube moving into 2021, which basically telling you just start off with your phone if you're a beginner. But I know a couple creators who actually have a solid fan base. They're actually making some revenue from this. They got a good foundation on YouTube, have been asking about this camera and maybe some other options for them. And as of right now, I can't recommend anything else. Maybe I'll have to try out some other options. Jayhawk, I know you're watching this. You let me know. Anybody else also let me know if it's even respectfully worth me renting like a Canon R5 or borrowing one to just kind of like see how it compares, see if it maybe is like more of a better option, because I know it is a little bit cheaper. Either way, I just want to point out that we are blessed to have like the options that we have. I know these things get pricey, like when you're talking $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 camera setups, but like we have the ability to create content in 2021 that far exceeds the production quality of like high-end movies, you know, 10, 20, 30 years ago. So I do just want to point out that I'm very, very grateful to be in this time, to have all the options that we're even talking about today. All right, that's all I got for you guys today. Likes, comments, subscribe, turn on those notifications. I'll see you in the next one. I'm out. Peace. Deuces.